Good morning, everybody. It's Wednesday morning, July the 29th. It's hard to believe that July is almost over already, but here we are. It's been a hot summer, but that's okay. That's what summer's for. Just as a reminder, before we get started, you can always read our devotions online at www.odb.org and then just click the Read Now button. We have these devotion books that are available at the church. You can pick one up in the church office or from the information station at the rear of the church. Today, the passage is from 2 Samuel 9, verses 1 through 7, and it's titled Grace Outside the Box. So let's begin by reading that passage, 2 Samuel 9, verses 1 through 7. It says, "Then David said, 'Is there yet anyone left of the house of Saul that I may show him kindness for Jonathan's sake?' Now there was a servant of the house of Saul whose name was Ziba, and they called him to David, and the king said to him, 'Are you Ziba?' And he said, 'Yes, I am your servant.' The king said, 'Is there not yet any one of the house of Saul to whom I may show the kindness of God?' And Ziba said to the king, 'There is still a son of Jonathan who is crippled in both feet.' So the king said to him, 'Where is he?' And Ziba said to the king, 'Behold, he is in the house of Machir, the son of Ammiel, in Lodebar.' Then King David sent and brought him from the house of Machir, the son of Ammiel, from Lodebar. Mephibosheth, the son of Jonathan, the son of Saul, came to David and fell on his face and prostrated himself. And David said, 'Mephibosheth,' and he said, 'Here is your servant.' David said to him, 'Do not fear, for I will surely show kindness to you for the sake of your father Jonathan, and will restore to you all the land of your grandfather Saul, and you shall eat at my table regularly.'" So I've preached from that passage at least once since I've been your pastor, and so some of you anyway are likely familiar with the passage. Some of the background story there is that King Saul, was always opposed to David, caused him all kinds of problems, tried to get him killed. And then when David became the king, he responded to Saul's lineage, to his family, with tremendous grace. It was customary in those days that when a new king took the throne, that he would have the previous king's families executed to eliminate any competition there might be. But David didn't do that. He showed grace, I would say unusual grace, a grace outside the box. So here's what the devotion says. It says, Tom worked for a law firm that advised Bob's company, and they became friends until Tom embezzled thousands of dollars from the company. Bob was hurt and angry when he found out, but he received wise counsel from his vice president, a believer in Christ. The VP noticed that Tom was deeply ashamed and repentant, and he advised Bob to drop the charges and hire Tom. And he said, "Pay him a modest salary so that he can make restitution. You'll have a more grateful, more loyal employee." Bob did, and Tom was. Mephibosheth, grandson of King Saul, hadn't done anything wrong, but he was in a tough spot when David became king. Most kings killed the royal bloodline. But David loved King Saul's son, Jonathan, and treated his surviving son as his own. His grace won a friend for life. Mephibosheth marveled that he, quote, "deserved nothing but death from my lord the king, but you gave your servant a place." He remained loyal to David even when David's son, Absalom, chased David from Jerusalem. Do you want a loyal friend for life? Someone so extraordinary may require you to do something extraordinary. When common sense says punish, choose grace. Hold them accountable, but give the undeserving a chance to make things right. You may never find a more grateful, devoted friend. Think outside the box with grace. In King David's case, it had become customary to execute the royal bloodline. David thought in different ways. David was a different man than the kings before him. And because he was a different man than the kings before him, he enacted special grace upon Mephibosheth. You know, as Christians, sometimes our instinct, even though we've been born again, sometimes our instinct is to seek revenge, to treat people the way they treated us, to somehow to make justice more potent than mercy. God called us to be different. I know that's hard, man. It's hard for me too. But God called us to be different. Jesus, throughout his life, he embodied this idea that we were to respond to people with love. It doesn't mean that truth isn't important, but that grace and mercy are ultimately the things that redeem, not tit for tat, not an eye for an eye. Jesus says that, that we should pray for those that curse us, that we should love our enemies. And here, at least in the devotion and in the story here in David's life, we see really these very personal, very intimate examples of what it is to love someone when they've done you wrong. Whether you like it or not, whether you're comfortable with it or not, that is the way of Christ. And so when the Apostle Paul says, "Let this mind be in you, which was also in Christ Jesus," that's exactly what he's referring to. When Jesus does the regenerating work of saving a person, making them new from the inside, and then working outward through their life and heart, he calls us to look at things differently. So today, my challenge for you is to not be like the world around you that's cold and harsh and always demands vengeance and exacting punishment. Allow the regenerating work of Jesus to do such a work in your heart that, yes, justice is important, truth is important, restitution be made when wrongs are committed. But the thing that really wins the day, the thing that sets us apart from the world around us, is grace. God calls us to be agents of grace. I hope that you'll do that today. Find someone that has committed some wrong against you in the past and forgive them. And not only forgive them in your mind, but then forgive them in your life, the way that you treat them, the way that you interact with them, the way that you think about them, and see what God can do. Hope to see you tonight, midweek service. God bless you. Have a great day.